Imagine a bank with the most sophisticated vault door in the world. A customer walks up, presents a valid ID, and the vault unlocks. But once inside, that same customer simply walks over to other people's safety deposit boxes and empties them. This isn't a failure of the door. It is a failure of the logic inside the room. In enterprise software, this exact failure happens when architecture conflates identity with permission. The system asks, "Who are you?" but fails to ask the subsequent question, "What are you allowed to do?" Answering "Who are you?" is the domain of authentication. It is the technical verification of a user's credentials, proving that the entity attempting to access the system is the legitimate owner of that account. On the left, authentication validates the identity badge. On the right, authorization acts as a filter, determining which specific resources that identity can touch. A valid token proves personhood, not permission. A learner authenticated to view a course is explicitly blocked from administrative APIs. To eliminate these gaps, we are going to build a secure, enterprise-grade access architecture from a blank slate, moving layer by layer until we achieve a zero-trust model. Modern access control is a continuous, layered architecture that must be enforced across the entire technical stack. It is the difference between a simple login screen and a secure platform. The first architectural challenge occurs the moment the user is verified. HTTP is a stateless protocol. This means that without a specific management strategy, the server forgets the user as soon as it finishes processing the initial request. The traditional solution is stateful session management. As shown here, the server verifies the password, creates a record in its own database, and sends a secure session identifier back to the browser as a cookie. For every subsequent request, the server must query that database to see if the session is still valid. At enterprise scale, with millions of concurrent users, this constant database lookup becomes a massive performance bottleneck. To scale past this, modern systems use the stateless JSON Web Token, or JWT. The database node is removed from the loop. Instead, the server mathematically signs a data packet and hands it to the client. The server can verify future requests simply by checking that cryptographic signature locally. However, because JWT payloads are typically base64 encoded, the data inside is readable by anyone who intercepts it. Sensitive secrets or unencrypted passwords must never be stored inside the token itself. Statelessness also introduces a revocation problem. Because the server does not track the token state, it cannot easily invalidate a stolen JWT before expiration. We mitigate this risk by introducing a two-token architecture utilizing refresh tokens. We issue access tokens with very short lifespans, measured in minutes, to limit the window for abuse if a token is compromised. A more securely stored refresh token then requests new access tokens as needed, keeping the user logged in without the security trade-off. Moving to stateless tokens solves the database scaling issue, but it requires this explicit token lifecycle management to maintain a secure posture. As we move into the enterprise market, we face a new problem: scale of management. Large organizations refuse to let employees manage separate local passwords for every software vendor they use. They demand single sign-on, or SSO. They need to manage their employees' identities through a central provider like Microsoft Entra ID or Okta. This process relies on OAuth 2.0. The user is redirected to their own identity provider to authenticate. The provider then issues an access token to our application. We gain permission to act on the user's behalf without ever handling their password. But OAuth alone is incomplete for our needs. It provides a token for access, but it doesn't inherently tell the application exactly who the user is. We solve this using OpenID Connect. The identity provider now issues a second token alongside the first, an ID token. This token contains standardized identity claims, such as the user's email and unique subject ID, allowing the application to verify the user's persona. The application must treat this token with skepticism until it verifies the cryptographic signature, confirms the issuer is trusted, and ensures the audience claim matches. SSO shifts the security burden. By integrating with these providers, the application delegates password complexity, multi-factor authentication, and account deactivation to the central governance. We have now verified the identity. The who is solved. Now, the architecture must handle the what, the specific permissions governing every action in the system. Most applications start with role-based access control, or RBAC. Permissions are mapped to broad titles. If your role is instructor, you have a green light to edit courses. It is a simple binary check. However, RBAC lacks context. If the only check is the instructor role, the system cannot distinguish between an instructor editing their own course and an instructor attempting to modify a course owned by a colleague. Trying to fix this with more roles leads to role explosion, where you end up with thousands of hyper-specific titles like Region 4 Junior Instructor, creating a management system that is impossible to audit or maintain. We move instead to Attribute-Based Access Control, or ABAC. The system still identifies the role, but it then evaluates a dynamic logic tree. It asks, does the user own this resource? And is the course in a state that allows editing? ABAC looks at the user, the resource, the environment, and the action simultaneously. This allows for granular rules, like allowing a support agent to view user details only during business hours and only within their assigned region. Combining the broad categories of RBAC with the contextual depth of ABAC creates an authorization engine that handles complex business rules without scaling into chaos. A frequent mistake is relying on the front end. Hiding the delete button in the user interface hasn't actually secured the system. Front-end authorization is for user experience, not security. An attacker can bypass your UI entirely, using developer tools or scripts to send HTTP requests directly to your backend APIs. Every API endpoint must be its own gatekeeper. The backend must run explicit permission logic for every incoming request, regardless of what the user sees on their screen. In a SaaS environment, this leads to the most critical layer, multi-tenant isolation. Here, we see data for Company A and Company B sharing the same infrastructure. When an admin request arrives at the API gateway, the system faces a high-stakes decision. The admin role is irrelevant unless the system can prove which specific tenant that admin belongs to. Tenant context must be injected into every database query and cache lookup. The system wraps the request in a tenant identifier, ensuring the logic engine explicitly blocks it from pulling any data tagged with tenant B, isolating the query to the correct silo. API-level enforcement and strict tenant boundaries are the only ways to guarantee that data remains isolated when the user interface is bypassed. Now we can trace a single high-stakes request through the entire architecture we've built. The user logs in via corporate SSO, the application receives an OIDC identity token and issues a short-lived JWT. The backend API validates that token and runs an ABAC check to verify tenant isolation and resource ownership before any data is returned. To complete the system, we add the final requirement for enterprise trust, audit logs. Unlike standard debugging logs, a business audit log creates an immutable record. It captures who did what, when they did it, and the final authorization outcome, providing the transparency required for security audits and incident response. This architecture ensures that security isn't just a feature added at the end, but the very foundation of how the application operates. Authentication secures the entry point, while authorization secures the internal resources. Together, they move the system from a simple logging screen to a true zero-trust architecture.